Yeah.
And those low mediums are so deceptively long. You know, you're playing that neutral game in the mid-screen, and you think you're safe, and you get clipped every time. You're a lot closer than you think. Look at this pressure.
Look at him go. In
That's
the corner,
bro,
but he still has his
J-Tails in his helms deep. Let's go.
Patient J-Tails.
Helms deep. Get your defense ready. Blocking it.
Ooh.
That was some beautiful defense.
Oh! This is getting wild. I don't know what's going to happen anymore.
Ooh.
Oh, still defending.
Yeah, this defense from J-Tails is insane.
This is crazy.
Neither character has sparking anymore. If he can kill
Goku Black, it could be anyone's game. Oh my god.
Even meter.
Oh, Super Dash through it!
Exactly. Plus, get out of there.
Oh!
What are we doing? No meter.
Oh, man! Oh!
No tech!
Wow!
What's up guys, J-Tails here for another video, and I know you guys have been anticipating this video for quite some time. Thank you guys so much for 25,000 views on my first video of this series, and now I'm bringing to you the second one. This video is about defense and how to actually improve it. So if you haven't watched the first video of this series, definitely do that first, because I talk about a lot of important topics that need to be addressed. Due to popular demand, I'm deciding to do the defense video first because it's been widely requested. So I decided to do this one first. I'm going to do the neutral one after this. Just as an overview or a table of contents, the things I'm going to talk about in this video is, number one, the only ways you're going to ever have to block in this game. So basically knowing exactly what you have to block. Number two, I'm going to give you guys a very important rule of thumb that has really helped me out in my blocking, and it kind of simplifies things. It's not, take it with a grain of salt, but it's really helpful. Number three, how to deal with pressure and how to escape certain situations. Number four, how to actually practice and improve your blocking by yourself if you have no one to practice with. And then number five, more complex setups and situations that you're gonna have to deal with at higher levels. So let's get right into it. Alright, so in this game, the only things that you will ever have to block are going to be high, right? They're gonna actually set them on guard all. And let's take this off. So I set the computer to guard all. So the only things you'll ever have to block are going to be high. It's important that you know what is high and what's not. Anything that comes from the air is going to be high, depending on the move, of course, right? Now, some moves appear to be low, but they're not actually low. They're mid, meaning you can block them high or low and it doesn't matter. So you have to know what moves hit low as well. See when the computer goes low? So the only things you'll ever have to block are going to be high, are going to be low. Now, the only other thing you're going to have to block is going to be cross-ups, meaning like that, right? So you notice that the computer actually changes direction to block the other way. So instead of holding back, back becomes forward for that split second, and you're gonna have to block the other direction. So it's gonna be high, low, or left, right, right? And then the only other thing you have to worry about is getting grabbed, which beats your block, but you can actually tech it. So now that we know what to block, let's talk about how to block it. So this rule of thumb has really helped me out a lot in every fighting game that I've ever played. And the basic rule of thumb for me is, if your opponent is on the ground, you want to block low. Why? Because usually sweeps have a decent range, especially like someone like Vegeta kind of moves forward. Adult Gohan and Trunks also move forward quite a bit with their 2 Ms. So when your opponent's on the ground, they can't they can hit you overhead, yeah, with forward M, but you can react to that. That's very reactable, right? So the only other thing you have to do is block low, because they can sweep you. So, and then when your opponent is in the air, block high. And I know it sounds like common sense, right? But then when people do things like IADH, people get blown up for it. But the thing is, you can react to your opponent jumping and IADing. And what I want you guys to pay attention to is look at the dust when Vegeta jumps. You see that dust? That's a visual cue. Also, when he air dashes, there's this wind effect that comes out. That's also another visual cue, signifying that he's in the air. So when I see dust, even though it's really, really fast, I see that dust kick up. It kind of serves as a visual cue for me to block high. And then when I don't see that, and they might dash in and go for a low, or just go for a sweep, I block low because he's on the ground, right? And then the same thing is true for this situation. He's going to hit me high in the air and then go low on the ground, because he can't really go high, right? And then when he's in the air again, I'm just going to block high twice. And I know I'm simplifying it, definitely 100%, but if you can train yourself to kind of like internalize this rule of thumb, you can pretty much block almost anything. I'm not saying everything and anything, because we're still human beings, but you can block a lot more than I see people blocking online. How to deal with pressure and escape certain situations. So there are situations in the game, like let's say Goku Black, for example, right? He'll do a pressure string, and then he'll vanish, and he's gonna pressure string you again, and then he'll vanish, and then he'll do a pressure string again, and then he'll call Tien, and then he'll vanish, right? And continue to pressure you. I know a lot of people get stuck in this scenario, and then they end up pushing a button, and they get beat, and now they get comboed for half their character's life. And you guys are probably wondering, how do I deal with this pressure, right? Well, there are definitely gaps in every block string. Gaps need to be covered by assists. If they're not covered by assists, it is your turn, or you can do something about it. So, where's the gap in this Goku Black string? Oops. Right? Did you see the gap? I'm actually gonna have to do a Goku to record that string. So let's take a look at Goku's string. It's gonna be the same thing. So where's the gap there, guys? If you haven't figured it out, I'll show you where there's a gap right now. Right? So, and then I would be able to punish Goku for swinging into me after that point. See that? So, after your opponent vanishes, there's always a gap. And if you are fast enough, you can backdash, or you can deflect and punish. It depends on the character that you're fighting. Some characters you're going to have to deflect twice. Some characters you cannot backdash, like Cell, because his auto combo extends too far. Goku Black for the same reason. Android 16, because he just has insane range. And Broly, because his range is just ridiculous. So you can't actually backdash those characters, but you can deflect them. I'm going to show you guys another option to deal with this kind of pressure. Right? You can always level 3 in between someone's vanish and when they push another button. And that's guaranteed if they push another button after they vanish. So that's another way to deal with that situation that is not a true string. The only other way you can deal with it is characters who have DPs, they can actually use that invincibility after the vanish, and if you know your opponent's going to push a button afterwards, you can get a free DP and you can get your combo into vanish, whatever you want to do after that. If your opponent doesn't push a button, you're going to DP and get punished. Same thing for your level 3, same thing for, well, backdash is safe, but it doesn't work on certain characters. But same thing for your deflect. If you deflect and your opponent just waits for it, they can just grab you, they can just punish you low and get their combo going. So it's still a guessing game, but that is how you deal with that situation. Another situation that I see people getting caught by is stuff like this, right? And whenever anyone does forward M, you can always deflect them and reset to neutral. So whenever anyone does forward M in the middle of their block string, that's a deflect every time. You can also level 3, you can also DP, you can also vanish before it hits you. I wouldn't recommend vanishing though, because you lose 1 meter and you don't really gain anything from the situation, so you want to be careful with that option as well. Another thing that's important is people tend to panic a lot. Once, for example, I know a lot of players that once they're put in a situation where they have to block, they start mashing DP or mashing vanish. And the problem with this setup is that if your opponent is good and smart, they're going to punish you for doing that. They'll, maybe they'll get hit by it once, but if you continue doing it, you're gonna get blown up because they're just gonna wait for your vanish right there, and then you're gonna do it and they're gonna 2H you. I can't stress this enough, guys, but it's really, really important not to panic, and you have to be comfortable blocking. I love blocking. I actually enjoy blocking a lot. I think it's one of the most fun part of fighting games, and making my opponent feel like they're fighting a wall, right? But I come across players online that the first moment they get, they sparking, they vanish, they'll throw out these like crazy options, and what does that tell me? Oh, this guy is not comfortable blocking. He really does not enjoy it. So you know what I do? I just force him to block even more as much as possible. And there are a lot of cracks in the armor, and I'm able to just open them up. So it's basically a tell. Another important thing, guys, is whenever people do their forward M, more often than not, guys, they're gonna pair it with an assist. That's just how people do it, because the thing is, even if forward M hits, you don't get a combo off of it. You don't get a combo off of this move. It resets to even, right? So if you do forward M with an assist, you then can get a combo off of it. So that's why people pair these two things together. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because that's a tell. Whenever you hear your opponent call an assist in a block string, I'm not saying it's going to happen every time, but I am saying that whenever you hear it happen, more often than not, they're gonna do forward M, and you can react to that and still deflect, or you can then vanish at that point and escape the pressure. So that's something that's quite important to be on the lookout for. Now, how do I practice and improve my blocking? Well, if you have a friend to help you practice, that's ideal, because you can literally tell your friend, hey, let's run some drills, I'm gonna go into the corner, I want you to try and mix me up. You have to be comfortable with doing instant air dashes, and you do this by pressing up forward, and you hold forward and press R2 if you're on pad. Alternately, you can hit up forward, and that's actually the fastest way to get it done. Which for you numpad notation guys, that's gonna be 9-6 very quickly. And that's how you get IEDs, right? So then once you get comfortable with that, you can start adding IED heavies, IED MLs, right? And that's a double overhead. So another thing you guys are gonna have to get used to blocking, right? Not just one overhead, but an overhead that hits 2 times. And then get used to that timing for when they touch the ground. So I'm gonna show you guys how to practice that, right? So literally just what just what I'm doing right here. You set the computer to record, and you just do IAD ML, right? And now I would just practice blocking that and getting used to that speed, right? Now what I'm gonna do is, right? So now I added another layer to it, so I have to block low as soon as Goku touches the ground. And right, so now I'm basically just training my reflexes and my muscle memory to get used to these inputs. And it helps if you have someone who has a 2L or a 5L that hits low, so you can get used to blocking. See that? See, like, so I'm getting mixed up, right? And I know what's coming. I know what the recording's doing. So it's important to really lab this and make sure that that you spend time in the lab getting used to these inputs, getting used to these things happening, and setting the computer to record and just mimicking what you're getting hit by. Every time that I get hit by something in a ranked match, I instantly go into training mode. Those of you guys who watch my live streams, I instantly go into training mode and I make the CPU do that same exact block string on me until I learn how to block it or deal with it. So it's important to, you know, also set a recording for cross-up M's, right? So that you can get used to this speed, so that you can get used to blocking this motion. Well, yeah, and you have to make sure you do it right or else it's not going to work. The last thing I want to talk about, guys, is full screen stuff. There's a lot of players that get tripped up by like beams or even like a jump super dash, right? So let's do a beam, and then you get close to me, jump super dash, right? So one of the important motions that you're gonna have to learn is how to move forward, but then quickly shift your input to back, right? So just without moving. So at the drop of a dime, you want to get used to being able to dash and press back very quickly. So you can still move forward, but block at the last moment, if that makes any sense. And be ready to block at the last moment. So you can close the gap and get closer to your opponent. A lot of players, you'll see them approach and they'll run head first into a super dash or a beam, right? And opponents will just kind of jump back and wait for you to approach, and then they'll just super dash. You shouldn't be getting hit by that. It means that you're just not pressing back fast enough. So while you're moving forward, you also want to kind of be holding back at the same time. Or if you think something's going to happen, be ready to shift to the back direction very, very quickly. So guys, yeah, hopefully these tips helped you out. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. I am going to be going deeper into this topic in my later videos for this series. Definitely you guys should check out my Twitch streams. I stream almost every single night at 10 p.m. Pacific time, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. So definitely consider subscribing to the channel, and I will see you guys next time. Later.